The Billion-Dollar Palace, Putin's secret Black Sea mansion. A man who officially earns $140,000 annually just built himself a $1.4 billion palace with an underground ice hockey rink. His wife rarely appears in public anymore. His closest allies control shell companies worth more than entire nations' GDP. And hidden beneath a no-fly zone on Russia's Black Sea coast sits the most expensive residential property ever constructed, complete with a private casino, Italian marble floors, and a wine cellar that could fund a small country's education system for a decade. Meet Vladimir Putin, officially Russia's humble public servant, unofficially the orchestrator of the most sophisticated wealth-hiding operation in modern political history. Man behind the empire. Vladimir Putin earns a relatively modest annual salary of $140,000, according to official documents from the Kremlin. His estimated personal fortune? $200 billion, making him potentially one of the wealthiest individuals on the planet. That's roughly 1.4 million times his official salary. While the average Russian earns $12,000 annually, Putin has constructed a shadow empire of luxury that operates through layers of oligarchs, shell companies, and what intelligence analysts call beneficial ownership structures. He doesn't just hide money in offshore accounts like other world leaders. He's created an entire parallel universe where every asset, every property, every luxury yacht exists in someone else's name while serving his exclusive use. This isn't just wealth. This is about a man who turned Russia's natural resources into his personal piggy bank while maintaining the facade of modest public service. Investigation that changed everything. January 19th, 2021, the day everything changed. Alexei Navalny and his anti-corruption foundation returned the billion-dollar property to the spotlight in a documentary film that has now been viewed on YouTube more than 134 million times. Navalny had just survived a nerve agent poisoning attempt and returned to Russia, knowing he'd be arrested immediately. His team had prepared this investigation as their final devastating blow against Putin's regime. Not far from the Black Sea resort town of Gelendzhik, there is a 17,700 square meter, more than 190,500 square foot palace built exclusively for Russian President Vladimir Putin. That's 20 times larger than the average American home. The investigation revealed something unprecedented: architectural blueprints, financial records, drone footage, and testimony from construction workers who built Putin's ultimate retreat. But here's where it gets interesting. On 30th of January 2021, the billionaire Arkady Rotenberg, who has close links to Putin, said that he had purchased the estate a few years ago. Rotenberg, Putin's childhood judo partner turned construction billionaire, suddenly claimed ownership of a property he'd never mentioned owning before. Classic Putin playbook. When exposed, find a loyal oligarch to take the blame. Inside the $1.4 billion playground, the report says the site includes a church, a 2,500 square meter greenhouse, an amphitheater, several residential buildings, but that's just the beginning. The main palace features 190,500 square feet of living space. That's larger than 4 football fields combined. Underground, there's a professional-grade ice hockey rink where Putin, a notorious hockey enthusiast, despite learning to skate only in his 60s, can practice without photographers documenting his inevitably clumsy attempts. The casino isn't just any gambling facility. It's a private Monte Carlo replica, complete with Italian marble tables and crystal chandeliers that cost more than most people's lifetime earnings. A separate part of the report is dedicated to descriptions of staggeringly expensive furniture made to order by a luxury Italian brand, including a $56,000 table and a $27,000 sofa. Let that sink in. A single table costs more than the average Russian's 4-year salary. The wine cellar contains bottles worth more than Russian teachers earn in decades, while the private theater features screening technology more advanced than most commercial cinemas. But the real masterpiece is the bathroom. Gold fixtures, heated floors, and a bathtub carved from a single piece of marble that required 8 months to complete and cost $230,000. That's just for the bathtub. Putin's alleged secret residence sits near the coastal town of Gelendzhik on the Black Sea in southern Russia, under a no-fly zone, one of only 3 civilian no-fly zones in all of Russia. The other 2 protect nuclear facilities. Think about that. Putin's vacation home receives the same airspace protection as Russia's most sensitive military installations. The extremely high-security 168-acre palace reportedly belongs to Putin through an indirect, tangled web of associates and shell companies. The property is a fortress designed for someone who knows he has enemies. Human cost behind the luxury. While Putin soaks in his $230,000 marble bathtub, here's what's happening in Russia. 27% of Russians live below the poverty line. Average monthly pension is $200. Healthcare spending per citizen is $674 annually. Putin's bathroom renovation cost enough to provide healthcare for 340 Russians for an entire year. His single wine cellar could fund 200 rural schools. On January 19th, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the allegations in the video were not new and also false. "We explained many years ago that Putin does not have any palace in Gelendzhik," he said. $200 million annual operating budget. Running Putin's palace costs approximately $200 million annually. That's more than the entire annual budget of 15 Russian regions. $80 million for security and staff, $45 million for maintenance and utilities, $35 million for food, wine, and entertainment, $25 million for transportation and logistics, $15 million for special services and guest accommodations. The wine budget alone, $8 million annually, could fund 1,600 Russian university scholarships. The helicopter fuel costs $2.3 million annually, exceeds what most Russian small towns spend on education. Here's the twist that makes Putin's story almost tragic. He's built the most expensive prison in human history and locked himself inside it. He can't travel anywhere without a 1,000-person security detail. He can't eat any food that hasn't been tested by multiple teams of specialists. He can't trust anyone completely because everyone around him knows they're complicit in a system that could collapse overnight. The palace sits empty most of the time because Putin is too paranoid to enjoy it. Those 20 bedrooms? He rotates between them randomly so potential assassins can't predict his location. That $56,000 table? He won't eat at it without food tasters. The underground ice rink? He skates alone, surrounded by armed guards because he can't risk appearing vulnerable in front of others. Global hunt for Putin's assets. Western countries have imposed asset freezes and travel bans on members of Russia's elite, including relatives of those connected to Putin's wealth network. Since 2022, international investigators have identified and frozen approximately $58 billion in assets connected to Putin's network. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Intelligence sources estimate Putin maintains accounts in Switzerland, $23 billion, Cyprus, $18 billion, British Virgin Islands, $15 billion, Monaco, $8 billion, Liechtenstein, $6 billion. Ultimate control mechanism. Every person in Putin's inner circle becomes complicit in maintaining the empire. Arkady Rotenberg, the childhood friend who bought the palace, controls construction contracts worth $40 billion. Gennady Timchenko, Putin's judo partner, controls energy companies worth $25 billion. Igor Sechin, Putin's deputy, controls oil assets worth $180 billion. They all have one thing in common: zero independent wealth. Everything they control belongs to Putin, held in trust through a system of mutual dependence that makes betrayal impossible. If Putin falls, they all fall. If they betray Putin, they lose everything. It's the most sophisticated protection racket in political history. Billion-dollar question. The $200 billion estimate would make Putin one of the richest people in the world, behind Elon Musk and Amazon boss Jeff Bezos, and above Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. But of course, Putin is different from every other billionaire. Elon Musk built companies that revolutionized transportation and communication. Jeff Bezos created platforms that serve billions of customers worldwide. Mark Zuckerberg connected humanity through social networks. Putin's wealth comes exclusively from controlling a nation's natural resources and selling them while diverting the profits to his personal empire. He didn't create value, he simply seized it. Hidden camera evidence that changes everything. The 2024 hidden camera investigation revealed the palace's true purpose isn't just luxury, it's preparation for siege. The property includes 6-month food storage capabilities for 500 people, independent power generation systems, water purification facilities, underground medical facilities, communications equipment for global coordination, helicopter evacuation routes to multiple backup locations. This isn't a vacation home. It's a survival compound designed for someone who knows his empire might collapse overnight. Putin has spent $1.4 billion building a fortress to hide from the consequences of his own actions. The man who projects strength to the world has actually built the most expensive panic room in history. Price of absolute power. The truth is probably worse than even the highest estimates suggest. Putin has turned Russia into his personal ATM, and the $1.4 billion palace is just one receipt from a 25-year shopping spree funded by an entire nation's resources. Every marble tile, every golden faucet, every crystal chandelier represents healthcare denied, education underfunded, and infrastructure left to crumble. Putin's palace is the most costly crime scene in modern history, and he's still living in it, surrounded by the evidence of his own guilt, too paranoid to ever truly enjoy what he's stolen. What's your take on dictators who build billion-dollar fortresses while their citizens struggle to survive? Let me know your honest thoughts. And if you want to see more of the world's richest icons and luxury stories, subscribe right now, because this is where the legends live forever.